A very good afternoon to everyone. I'm very happy to have all our esteemed general managers here. I request all of you all to please take your seats. I have one little slide to share for all the GMs. If you all can just please sit in the first row. So as you can see, we have Mr. Ashley James, GM. Backdrop डालो भाई. So we have Mr. Ashley James, the GM Angsana, Oasis and Spa and Resort. Mr. Girish Ganeshan, GM of Radisson Blue, Atria, Bengaluru. Mr. Jaidev Dutta, GM of Holiday in Bengaluru Racecourse. Mr. Manish Garg, unfortunately couldn't join us because of some exigency. We have Mr. Vinesh Gupta, GM of the Den Bengaluru, and we have Ms. Ghosh, she's the hotel manager of Mulberry Shades, Bengaluru, Nandi Hills, a tribute portfolio hotel by Marriott. So before we start, today's discussion is on the roadmap to sustainability. So I found this very interesting slide online, and I thought I will share it with the GMs before we get them on stage. So a very interesting slide, as you can see. I think the chairs are covering a bit of it. So I found it very interesting to see that 1 pint of beer gives away 665 grams of carbon dioxide. And 1 glass of wine is 300 grams of carbon dioxide. Go to the next slide. What's interesting is if you see, you have 1 tissue roll of 2-ply is like 1.3 kgs of carbon dioxide. That's a carbon footprint. And we have imported flowers. That is 32 kgs of carbon dioxide versus the local flowers, which is 2.5 kg of carbon dioxide. So this is just to get a gist of what is going to be the track of our discussion today. So I would please now invite all our GMs on stage. Mr. Ganeshan, Mr. Gupta, Mr. Jaidev Dutta, Mr. Ashley James, Ms. Ghosh. Thank you for being here with us. And sir, you can... So once again, thank you for being here with us. And I hope that we're going to have a very interesting, very insightful discussion. I'll try to keep it very short because in these times of social media, span concentration is very short and people want it to be right to the point, right? So I had sent across a few talk points, of course, so that will make the discussion more insightful and on one track, so to speak. So first of all, when you saw the numbers which I showed on this, is something which means like should come as a surprise to people, or it is like something what generally everybody knows about? Mr. James, you can start.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, the numbers were pretty interesting, and some of it that probably we don't realize during our day-to-day lives or our consumptions or whatever, how we practice or how we live also. So it's quite interesting, and
Hold it.
Maybe it's something that we could probably look at also. Check. It's something that we could probably utilize towards achieving sustainability across our individual resorts, hotels, and everywhere. Yes.
Okay. The other panelists would like to add to that. Ms. Ghosh, you start.
Firstly, thank you for having us here, Steena. It's an absolute pleasure. I was pretty shocked that my consumption of beer leads to so much carbon footprint. So I think we'll switch to coffee with immediate effect. But yes, a lot of eye-opener information there. Thank you for sharing that. We do know there's a contribution, but to quantify it to this extent was great. So thank you. And we want to go back to our hotels and see ways of making others aware.
Substituting these, yeah, for, like I said, the imported versus the local
Locally
flowers, right? You
sourced
see the
ones.
difference, how much it can create in just making that switch.
Absolutely.
Mr. Gupta?
Good afternoon. You know, it's very interesting when you're talking about the numbers, some of the organizations, I'm sure a lot of our hotel colleagues also, we track, which is something called a triple bottom line. So most of the hotels, we talk about numbers. We talk about GOPs and EBITDAs and all. Some of us, we also say, what is the impact on environment of our operation? And that's how we say the triple bottom line, the third bottom line.
Yeah.
And when we talk about carbon footprint, when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about a lot of things, you know, it has to be ingrained into the organization in a very different way. And numbers don't come as a surprise, because when we talk about our operations, we talk about hundreds of thousands of kgs of carbon footprint which we destroy. I think the way forward, or what we look at, is how can we reduce the footprint, and how can we actually see that, I mean, we can, it's not only about going natural, but how can we give it back to the nature and contribute to the positive carbon emissions as well.
Thank you. Mr. Dutta, what are your thoughts on the slide that we just saw?
Pretty interesting. I mean, the slide looks, I mean, it's informative and it's scary, but to be very honest, whatever we do in our lives, everything has got a carbon footprint.
Yes, definitely.
Whatever,
of course.
even small things we do. So as
Actually,
an
there was another
organization-
part to it
Yeah.
which showed a Google search. What is the carbon footprint of that? But then I thought, like,
So for us, you know, we run businesses where we are responsible for stakeholders. Whatever we do, it has to be viable, sustainable, economically. I mean, I can never remove coffee. I can never do vegan coffee, to be very honest. But we track bigger things where we can make a difference, and we can do it every day for everybody. I mean, I can't even remove beer also. I mean,
of
some
course,
things we do,
being
some
the
things we
pub
don't
capital
do,
of
right?
India.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, it has to be whatever we do towards sustainability has to be viable economically and doable every day.
And ultimately, it's the guest choice, right? We
Yes.
give them more options so that
No,
we hope that they make the right choices.
And we take a step, and we take one more step next day. So I would say that we have a two-pronged approach. We have as a hotel, as an organization, we have an approach to make aware our employees and our guests. Approaches are different because we are in an industry where we are, I mean, guests cannot be dealt the same way we deal our colleagues and employees. But yes, it has to be a two-pronged approach where we make conscious efforts which is viable, sustainable, and economically makes sense for both the parties.
Yes. Mr. Ganeshan.
Thank you. I think most of the panelists have covered maximum points. I just want to add the 3 points that you have covered actually. One is flowers. Bangalore is known for flowers.
Yes.
You know, we have some of the finest chrysanthemum flowers. So that's an important sustainability measure to use. Second
Bangalore also exports a lot of
exports
flowers.
Yes, yes. So that's an important aspect. Second one, you talk about the beer. As you said, it's a pub capital of India. So certainly that's another important aspect how we can look into it. Third one you covered on the transportation, which is the cycling. Cycling is another important thing that Bangalore is known for it. All these things covers 3 points. One is think community, think planet, think earth. This is how most of the brands, like the IHG, Radisson, or whichever brand you take, we all cover on these things. We will discuss as we move forward in our discussion. But a great presentation that you had. Thank you, Steena.
Thank you. So coming back to you, Mr. Dutta, the points that we had, the talk points on, which do you think are the major, of the challenges? You have waste management, you have water management, and you have high power consumption. So I know all three are challenging, but which do you think is the most challenging, difficult in today's situation?
Talking about these 3 points, waste management, water management, and high power consumption. So coming, it's not working. Yeah. So coming from a rural part of Bangalore, which we are a little away from the city itself, north part of Bangalore, we have an acute shortage of water supply over there. So most of our water is sourced, and we pay probably in close to about 36 lakhs, 36 to 40 lakhs annually we spend on our water consumption also. So the main reason for this is because of there is no supply of the Kaveri water, and bow wells do not function because of the dry land also there. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we are currently facing over there.
So you think it's water, yeah. Ms. Ghosh?
Coming from one of the Bengaluru rural resorts, one of the biggest challenges is power sourcing and managing power usage. We've recently moved into sourcing our electricity from wind energy, and we are trying to contribute, say 85 to 90% of our entire resort consumption. But typically, because we are spread out, most of our hotels, it's like you have to keep the spaces alive, but at the same time, the amount of consumption is alarmingly high for our industry. Yes, you can try and use sensors, you can try and make guests aware, but there's this much you can do, We have started wind energy. Given the heat wave in Bangalore in the last few months, we are also doing solar panel sourcing. So we are covering, say, parking lots, but we're also capturing the solar energy. These are little efforts, but I think if each of us try and do that, it will remove the concern to some extent. But yes, power is main. Yes, thank you.
Again, I have a very different take on this.
Okay, that's nice. We like to have different perspectives here.
We talk about water. I think one of the advantages being a new hotel is I'm a zero discharge unit. So not even a single drop goes out, recycle 3 times, finish the water within. Reduces the consumption by 60%. Second, you talk about energy. Everybody is going green. Green energy in various forms is with every hotel. The third, we talk about wet waste. Everybody is composting, everybody is doing some sort of other thing. So I think we are all there. When I look at sustainability, when I look at going green, do we have control over our supply chain?
Yeah.
So we can control what is inside. How are we controlling what is outside, what is affected by our operations, be it our suppliers, be it our vendors, be our stakeholders, be XYZ. So I think the future lies, and I was sitting with one of my customers, or let's say one of my corporate companies yesterday. They asked me a question. They said, what's the percentile of renewable energy to the thermal energy that you use? So I asked them a question. I said, how does it matter to you? I said, though I can tell you, I'm 100% green, but how does it matter? He says, because that is one of our parameters to select our partners. Do we do that in the hotels? Is a question mark. I think it's a nascent stage, but once we do that, that will make us more sustainable and more holistically complete in terms of going green. So that's
Actually,
why
that was one of the talk points which we'll come to later. Ethical sourcing, responsible sourcing,
Right.
how we can take it down the line.
Yeah, I think let me give you a little bit of a wider perspective on this. All the challenges are equally big. Depends on, it could be dynamic, like our business is dynamic, challenges can be dynamic, and depends on what kind of asset you operate, what location you operate, which geography you operate. Somebody operating out of a NCR region, they could have a major power sourcing challenge. In Bangalore, a few days back, we had a major water sourcing challenge. But I guess every challenge is important, and we address it equally with equal kind of focus. in my hotel, which is relatively a modern asset, it is built well. So as a hotel, we use 100% renewable energy. To an extent, we also have our solar panels, which facilitates our back of the house, fire, staircases. We have got water treatment plants, which almost 85% of our water is used in various facilities. He mentioned about, waste recycling, organic waste recycling to create manure, we do that. Yes, so I guess the challenges are there. Again, it would depend on what hotel you operate, where you operate. So you have to address it in a specific manner.
Yes, sir. Mr. Ganesh.
Yeah, thank you. Power, water, or both are very essential for a
Running
big five-star hotel and lifestyle as such. Both have their own challenges of sourcing, as he was mentioning, as well as the usage, how we do that. I think most of our hotels, what we are trying to work on is how to educate our staff to face these challenges. Where power savings, how can you do that? Water savings, how can we do that? I want to quote an example. What Radisson group of hotels have done to train the staff is to take a pledge program. So we educate our team members to take a pledge that I will switch off the light wherever I am going out. Those kind of initiatives really can help to face these challenges. Thank you.
I agree. Actually, of the 3 points, the challenges, water and power consumption are essential to the business. But the third point, that is waste management, is something which we have to actually make an effort. So, what are your thoughts on that? Waste management, how you are managing it in your properties?
We are pretty structured in the way we are pretty structured in the way we look at our waste management also. Our resort, if you look at our resort, we are about 8.5 acres large. And out of the 8.5 acres, we are about 6 acres is landscaping. So what with the organic waste plant is that we do recomposting of it, and then we utilize it as manure for plantings. So if our resort, we have close to, in terms of trees and plants, we have close to about 8,000 trees and plants. We have a herbal garden as well within the resort itself. So most of it's converted and it's utilized over there, and the rest is managed and taken away. That's what.
Some of the hotels abroad, they use the waste even to, to power energy, to get energy. So that's something which is not very much popular in India. But do you think?
Yes, there are small initiatives which I feel make a significant impact. For example, OWC is just one of them. We make our associates aware for power consumption, switch the heat pump off. It's a daily activity, we try and optimize that. Most of our hotels still unfortunately use certain plastic items such as the toothpaste in the room, which is a one-time consumption.
Correct.
We've actually started saving that, and we donate it to NGOs because 70% is still left. So we try and make that effort.
Some hotels do with the soaps, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
recycling.
yes, that's the next one. Soap for Hope with Johnson Diversity. They do a brilliant job. They come and collect the soaps which are single-time used. So those are the little initiatives we try and undertake at our respective resorts to do away with. Plastic consumption, of course, the waste management is much more under control across with our in-house bottling plants. I'm wearing a silicone master key wristband, so we've done away with the plastic acrylic keys which get lost by our associates, and it's a security issue as well. So that's another initiative. So we try and make, activities which are centered around little things, encourage our associates to come up with more ideas and make that difference as well. I think to have everyone's buy-in with passion to make that difference is very important, but to make them conscious.
Yeah. Yeah, I was coming to that. What we earlier spoke about is the hard approach, you're having composting and you're putting the solar panels. But what about mindset, attitude change? So a few years ago we had this half-glass policy, but I don't see it much taken off, at least in the Indian hospitality sector. You still have stewards pouring the whole glass, maybe because he feels that if the guest feels that other glass pani kyun diya. So I don't know. And even this part about getting your own bottle, refilling kiosk. So Mr. Gupta, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that attitude, it needs a change? And when will that change come? Especially because you all are in a millennial city, right? Where IT hub.
Yes, you are absolutely right. So it's all about attitude. It's all about measuring the waste. It's all about being quantifiable. So, example, we're talking about this, and we started quantifying the wet waste per cover. So we started with about 350 grams per cover being wasted. When I talk about that, it's like peels, the pips, this, that, whatever, the total waste. Today, where we serve more than 1 lakh covers a month, we have come down to less than 200 grams per cover. So that's very quantifiable. So I can say, okay, fine. First, I was throwing 350 grams per cover. How do I reduce it? Is it the portion size? I mean, there's a lot of science which goes into that. And there's a lot of attitudinal change in the team because you need to incentivize it also. You need to actually buy in and get the team to your side that, hey, how do I stop wastage? And we need to start working towards that. Hey, listen, in my breakfast tomorrow, let's say there's 150 covers. Do I cook for 140 or do I cook for 200? If you speak to any chef, they'll say, oh my God, 150 covers? Let's cook some more. My thing is, can we cook for 140 and cook for 20 more if required? So that is the shift which we need to do, a paradigm shift. If we want to be sustainable, if we want to reduce the wastage in real time, as you rightly said, I mean, having OWCs, composting, vermiculture and all stuff, everybody's doing that. We need to see how we can go a step forward and make the operations financially viable where the rewards can be shared with the team so that they believe in sustainability. Otherwise, the question is, why should I? What's there for me?
Yeah, I agree with that. Incentivize. So like you have BYOD, bring your own device. It can be have BYOT, bring your own toothpaste probably, right? So Mrs. Dutta, you would like to, I mean like it's all about creating awareness. Maybe like the slide which I put up, if you have one slide like that in your lobby, just for information's sake that this is what the carbon footprint is, how would you want to be part of that journey to reduce it?
Yeah, I guess, I think we are at a stage where we are all aware what we need to do. We have come a long, long way in this.
Yes.
And it is driven by various needs. It could be awareness, it could be training, it could be legalities, right? So there is a basic bare minimum which we all have to do because we have to be legally compliant. We are driven by certain laws. In India, most of the states have certain laws of waste management. You cannot dispose of your waste, segregation of waste or dumping of waste or dumping of certain oils. It's a bare minimum what we need to do. Otherwise, we will be penalized. So there is a fear factor. So I guess a lot of factors work, factors of awareness, that is which comes within the culture, what you said in the organization. Maybe it's top driven within the organization. Top driven means we spoke about food wastage. In my company, it's linked to the performance appraisal of my chef. So he drives it. If he does not, he'll not get a good performance appraisal. So there is an incentive, there is probably a factor of performance, a lot of things. We incentivize our guests also. We give them certain loyalty points of being environmental conscious. So it can be driven through culture, most importantly. It can be driven through incentive to our employees, to our guests, and most importantly, it has to become regulations. What I know for the fact is that it's no longer a choice or a thing which we just do for the feeling of being good. It will become a norm. SEBI is making a guideline for all listed companies in India, 1,000 listed companies. By 2025, you don't have a choice. You have to be ESG compliant. You don't do it, you get delisted. So maybe the countries who do it much better, they have stringent norms. Or everything works, but I guess Danda works.
Yes,
the most
I was
efficient
coming
thing.
to that, like mindset change
Yeah.
and of course regulation. From the policy side, there should be a regulation. Then it becomes much more easier,
So
right?
if it becomes more stringent, then
Yeah.
everybody will do it. Like uh, simple things like she spoke about plastic. I think most of us have moved away from single-use plastic to a great extent. Things like, I think every hotel does it, be it multi-use dispensers at the guest bathrooms or water bottling plants. But it's not easy. Water bottling plant is a nightmare, you know. I mean, it's not easy. Plastic bottles are much easy to handle. That requires a cultural shift. But some people do it, some people don't. Tomorrow, if the local municipal body makes a mandate that every hotel which is classified has to do a water bottle, whether they like it or not, they'll do it.
Yes,
So a lot of things have to be governed by
by
the
law
government.
and regulation,
So
I
once
agree.
it becomes a norm, you
Yeah.
better do it.
Yes, because in Kerala, like where I come from, you cannot dispose of your food waste. That has to be composted. So they will not collect. Your garbage collectors will not collect your food waste. So then what happens? Individual housing societies and houses, they make a vermicompost pit and then they use. So it is very strict there. I know I have had difficulties sometimes getting rid. So first, let's not create the waste. I think come across some restaurant where they don't have dustbins and they say that you need to finish off what you're taking on the plate because we will not take it back unless it's an empty clean plate. So these kind of things, will I think push the envelope towards.
I guess it is happening now. I mean, I did mention about a two-pronged approach of waste management or any efforts towards being environmentally conscious is towards our employees and towards our guests. So we definitely have a different approach for our employees. So we can be very strict that do not waste food. To the extent that we can say we can have penalties levied on you if you waste food in your employee canteens and all that. But with guests we cannot be so harsh. So what we do is we are subtle. Somebody in India, I guess one of the biggest wastage is the food wasted at the buffets. It's
Yes.
enormous.
Correct.
It's huge. So we can have certain things which we do in terms of batch cooking, small quantity cooking, fresh cooking. But what about the food waste on the plates? That huge. So we have started taking some steps as a hotel. We try to educate our guests saying that please do not waste food. In a way, we do one thing very subtly at our morning buffets which works for us. When we see people have picked up too much of food which they can't finish, we request them, can we pack it up for you?
Yeah.
So they get the message that food wasted is not welcome. So slowly the awareness will come.
Yes, correct. So, Mr. Ganeshan, would you like to add like how to involve the guest? I think the key is to involve the guest in your sustainability journey. So how does
So in Radisson
Radisson.
Group of Hotels, we have something called Green Housekeeping Program, where in the time of check-in, we invite the guest. Would you like to be part of a green housekeeping program? What does that mean is, do I need to wash the bed sheets change every day? Can I use it for 2 days? Would you like to have it serviced in the night? So with these kind of questions, we participate the guest and the guest gets some incentives out of it as it was discussed.
Yeah, exactly.
And that promotes a lot of sustainability measures within the community to do that. Also, when they're talking about legislation, already FSSAI and Bangalore Municipal Corporation has got enough regulations for us to how you can improve sustainability in that. There already is there. There are 3 more points I want to add. We discussed about food waste. There is something called e-waste,
Yeah,
which
of course.
is huge in most of the hotels nowadays. Again, BBMP has got certified vendors who takes those things and they'll do that. Recently, linen, which is another waste that comes out. There are NGOs who is taking those linen from hotels. They are reusing, reducing, recycling it into different fabrics. They are doing that. Uniform shoes, which is another huge wastage that comes across in most of the hotels.
Yes.
There is something called Green Box Foundation based out of Noida. They collect these torn shoes, unwanted shoes, they convert it into different new shoes and package them to do that. So the community around us is growing and very conscious of the sustainability measures in mass ways, in all these things on this matter. Thank you.
Yeah. See, all of y'all are from international brands, right? So I just want to ask, when we talked earlier about ethical sourcing, India has got the best options. We have got jute, we have got bamboo, things which can be used like, bamboo toothbrushes and all. But how do you see to it that your vendor, the sustainability mission and your brand standards, how are you going to balance that?
So what we do here right now is, since we are located in the rural part of Bangalore itself, so which was a village earlier also. So our commitment was to give it back to the community over there also. So what we did was we used a lot of local vendors who we currently use also, who locally source mainly majority vegetables itself from the local farmers. So we buy it from them. So what we have done also when, Angsana is 23 years old also. So 23 years old, this was probably the outskirts of Bangalore itself. So what we did was we created an ecosystem where we gave it back to the community around there itself by creating a township itself, by creating Angsana itself. So it generated employment for a lot of people, and with employment also, while the community, the local community was quite, they were quite open to and quite excited to do business with us also. Similarly, they benefited from the employment, they benefited from the township also which was there also. So that helped us also. While we also utilize an online system itself, which we to source other materials as well. We follow certain practices as a part of the group where the vendor has to adhere to certain guidelines and norms of the brand itself in terms of a sustainability, what are practices and norms that they have to follow. So that's what we've been cautiously doing, and we've been able to contribute in that manner to us.
I'll speak from Marriott perspective. It's been 10 years for me in the brand. It's become a lot easier, Steena, to source locally. So what was initially central suppliers based has largely migrated to local as well. And I think it's a clear result of the passion and perseverance of a purchase and a housekeeping team, because they are usually
Even
the
the
largest.
pandemic would have pushed that a little bit,
Yes,
right?
I think entrepreneurship in the pandemic definitely played a role. The second is it's all about you standing up for your standards, and as long as you're involved with the vendor sampling and you check the quality, every brand is on the same page. In fact, our purchase area heads have actually welcomed these changes. We used to source our jute slipper from Bombay initially. Now we source it locally. Linen, as long as you meet the thread count, of course, I'm happy to take it not from Indore, where I was initially sourcing from, but I'm going to make sure that the initial company gets a wake-up call to localize their supplies as well, because at the end of the day we are contributing hugely to carbon footprint, and they need to make an initiative as well. So yes, it's a lot easier, and I think every person, every purchase executive in our respective hotels has the capacity and the empowerment to take that decision. It's only when they stop thinking that we are stuck, I fear, very honestly. Yes.
When we talk about sourcing and when we talk about sustainable sourcing practices or ethical sourcing practices, a lot depends on the person who's at the helm of affairs and how he or she looks at it. Example, we work with farmers, we work with a group which is from a jungle collecting stuff and giving it to us, which is as natural as you can be. We even work with a group of people who pluck coconuts and give it to us as a self-help group. So, this is the level of localization which we can go into. Your major question was regarding brand standards and if the companies are able to provide us that. I must say, today, companies who are running these businesses as professional units, they're very smart. They know our brand standards even before we know our brand standards. And they actually come to us and tell, hey guys, your brand standard is this. I'm adhering to your brand standard. Can you buy it from me? I may be 50 paisa expensive, but you can say this is sustainable. So because of the tag, we are happy to buy that. I was very impressed. I mean, right around the corner, I met a gentleman who's making something out of the pine tree.
Pine
something.
cones,
Yeah.
That cups and all.
Yeah,
pine
so
husks,
I said, okay. I said, this is something which falls down. I don't know whether he's here or no. So he says, yeah, this is something which falls down. 200 people are given employment and we're doing this, we're doing that. You know, suddenly it becomes a story. I think there is a lot of awareness and there's a lot of entrepreneurship which is already there. And people are trying to capitalize it in the form of commercial ventures, in the form of the passion. And I think we just need to find the right partners and, you know, there
who
it
have
is.
the same vision
Yeah.
as you have, right?
Thank
Mr. Dutta.
Yeah, I'll completely agree with what my panelists have said. I think today, most modern companies, be it Indian or global, they have reached a certain stage where their brand standards are more or less very conscious towards being environmentally sustainable. But that's a bare minimum what you have to do for any brand, be it my brand or a Marriott or a Radisson. You have to follow that to be brand standard compliant. But it also drives down to the culture of a particular hotel, what you go beyond the brand. Some things which I can share about my hotel, what we do. We have a restaurant called Glass Kitchen and Bar. I mean, the name itself, glass, signifies transparency and the way we source our food, ethical sourcing, to the extent that what fish we buy in the restaurant is certified non-endangered species. We work with millets, apart from all local sourcing. The chicken what we use is free-range chicken. I mean, there is no end to what we can do. Yeah, there is a cost to it, but we are taking that cost. So I guess one is about the brand standards, which definitely talks about ethical sourcing, and most of we are all, we represent a large brand. We have a leverage of scale where we can actually do our central contracting, which from sources which are compliant towards all these norms. But yes, eventually it will depend on the culture you set up at every hotel, how you drive it.
Yes, absolutely right. Mr. Ganesh, I will start with the last question. We can start from your end. We have a new government at the center, Modi 3.0, and he's going to continue on his path to Viksit Bharat. And I think sustainability is going to be a major part of that Viksit Bharat journey to 2047. So if you had a wish list, what would you want the government to do to help you all, move along the sustainability path?
Thank you. It's a very interesting question you have asked.
So you have open forum now. We'll put it out.
Thank you. So we also have a Minister of State for Tourism and Culture from your state, Mr. Suresh Gopi, who has recently taken over. I'm sure there will be a lot of initiatives will come in across. Government of India, Ministry of Tourism has lined tourism as a major circuit to promote spiritual tourism, cultural tourism, medical tourism. They have worked out a vision on a lot of, I have taken a lot of panel discussions in the past. This has been a very, very concrete direction Government of India has taken consciously across. That's why if you look at it, Tier 2, Tier 3 cities development, where most of the brands, let it be RHG, let it be Marriott, all these brands are going across and opening up many hotels in those places. So that shows that a lot of entrepreneurs...
Ayodhya has no room nights, I heard, for the next 2 years.
That's a very classic example. There are more coming. There are more venues are coming in across. More hotels are also going to open across in the coming days in various cities to do that. So that shows where the government of India wants to showcase and it's a safe place, where there is a safe place to travel. That is also a message that is going across for people to do that. And third comes employment, when many hotels are opening, there are a lot of employment is going to get generated within the vicinity of that area, and people can migrate from one city to another city to do that. So I'm sure all these things already what the government blueprint has already made, which is an action, which is going to further motion into a whole lot of things. We had last year G20 summit, which was not just held in one place, but it was happening in many chosen cities in India. And that gave a lot of opportunity for various brands.
That was a brilliant move by Mr. Modi.
Brilliant. So it helped people to understand how to host of that international stature to bring in across. Even your cricket IPL, which is moving into different stadiums across. So all these things certainly will continue. The motion will continue. There is something called Skill Development Council of India. Skill Development Council has moved in further to train people, and they are tying up with Job Plus, which is another management consultancy firm which is looking to support skill development into our industry. So all these things will further give a momentum to bring in across into our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dutta, your wish list.
I think I have a bucket full of wish lists, but if I start spelling it out, it will be very political. I guess, any government who comes into power, the bare minimum I would expect is that they make policies which has got wider acceptance, which are similar across the country. We should not have a different policy in Jammu, Kashmir and Kerala. It should have equal amount of impact or I guess more similar. And tourism industry has to be given a status of industry from the center, I guess. Things will become more regulated there.
That is in every budget.
Yes, but nobody
And
gives
just
the status
gets
of an
ignored.
industry.
Yeah. Mr. Gupta.
Well, if we talk about sustainability and what we expect from the government, I think food processing and handling of the raw material is very important. And that definitely needs a lot of attention. I think about 2 years back, there was a big drive where the government had sanctioned 500 crore rupees for Tumkur food processing zone. I don't know what's happened there or what's happening, but that's something which we need, because there are times when we see the products are being literally thrown on the streets because there's no value, and after 3 months the same product is selling for more than $1 a kilo. So that's something which the government should focus on.
I think on top of my wish list would be a mandatory garbage disposal process. I think in a lot of our complexes and societies, I come from Calcutta, it's still very regressive. I really worry about which person who's deprived on the road is going to scavenge through a garbage bag and get cut because someone has put broken glass into the same packet as food. And that is reality of today, including stray dogs. It just disturbs me. Like, I try and do it at my level. I try and do it at, I try and influence people. But outside India, it is non-negotiable. I think that would be great. Like, when you speak about Kerala, it's just one of those countries, states which is conscious. But the rest of us aren't. So it would be great if the government makes this a mandate.
You use the correct word. It should be non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. Right? Like we used to think sustainability is fashionable, but it's a norm now. So it's high time. That was
It is not for the top, the elite or anything. It's just trickles down to the grassroots.
Exactly. And I think across classes of society, this will matter. Second thing is, the last thing is, to not make luxury fashion very to encourage luxury fashion if it is not sustainable. I think today in the market where we are so consumer, we are very, very high consumers of
Louis Vuitton.
Luxury and Louis Vuitton. I would celebrate that brand which made vegan leather rather than getting and highlighting crocodile leather bag on the, showroom. It's so backward, I just feel we should celebrate that brand which comes out of the box, makes vegan leather rather than a LV,
Yes.
That's two wish lists.
Yes, exactly. That is very good about luxury fashion. I agree with that. And this consumerism, mass consumerism, that should be avoided. You'll have the last word,
Yeah,
Mr.
that was a
Jain.
great point. Luxury fashion. Okay, just there are a lot of measures taken by the governments and many that we need to follow also. So, like Mr. Dutta was mentioning, the danda needs to be brought out, and that's a fact for us to actually adhere to this. For example, Devi spoke about plastic. So to reduce carbon footprint also, it has to be implemented, it has to be drilled down. And like Ganesh pointed out about skill development, it starts from there also. If you look at today, in terms of the skill level of the people that are coming out, a lot of tier 3, tier 4 cities, a lot of small towns and cities have started having, students started coming out wanting to do aviation and hospitality also. So they probably need to look at that area and contribute in terms of helping those smaller towns and smaller areas where we have a lot of youngsters who want to be a part of this industry and maybe contribute in terms of their education as well. And that will definitely help us in the long run.
So thank you everyone. That was, I think, quite insightful. And I hope any questions from the audience? Okay, there's someone there.
Good afternoon. My name is Nadeem. Question to hoteliers. How you tackle the leftover, means the surplus food from your buffet systems?
You talk about the surplus food from?
Buffet or from
Buffet.
your restaurants?
Okay. So,
Any surplus food.
okay.
What is, means good to be consumed?
The food can be good to be consumed. We do not profess that we donate the food. Because every food which is cooked has a shelf life. My responsibility is not when the food is in my premises, but my responsibility lies till the time the food is consumed by the end user also. And we have seen, there are examples in the past where the organizations used to donate the food and people had fallen sick. So our intent is to cook right. You know, I'll give you a very simple example. I tell my chefs as a person that I take responsibility if one of the items on your buffet is over. It's okay. There's nothing wrong in it. You know, today I made chicken. It was more tasty than fish. Chicken got finished. And I'm happy to confront my guest, apologize and tell him that, sorry, this chicken is over, but I can give you some other chicken. To answer your question, we cannot recycle most of the food. It's cooked food. Even uncooked food, we have to be very careful of what can be recycled because it's lying in open or in a buffet, even under controlled environment for quite some time. And we cannot feed anybody. So we have to ensure that we are very mindful of what we are cooking and we have to destroy it. That's a simple, honest answer.
I think to add on to that, I think the wastage of food is not only in the buffet. A lot of wastage happens during processing of food also. So I guess you have to start at the right sourcing and what kind of raw materials you are sourcing, how do you process your food, and the way you process it. I did mention about that in India we have a fairly large amount of food wastage from the buffets, particularly breakfast buffets. So we take a lot of measures from sourcing, responsible sourcing, menu sizing, and chefs have also become smarter now. So something known as batch cooking, which happens nowadays. You cook on small quantities and you keep on refilling your buffet. And he did mention if that dish gets over, so it gets over, right? So we take a lot of efforts from our side to reduce wastage. Then we also try and educate our guests, like I did mention about taking the food away. In spite of that, wastage happens and most of it is actually dumped. We cannot recycle it apart from making manure to be used in gardens.
Hi guys. So I have a question that how do you monitor faulty equipment, in your premises? which might contribute to higher electrical usage. Is that even relevant? I mean, and how do you track that if you do it at all?
Okay, I'm taking a lead to speak with that. Most of us know about kitchen equipment out here, and most of us understand that. I would, it would be very difficult to find a chef who says, I don't want to use a potato peeler. And just to give you a bit of a data, 30% of the potato goes waste in a potato peeler. How many of us do we want to actually peel the potato with our hands or use jacket potatoes? That's one. Now, your question was very different. Your question is, how do you track the faulty equipment? The yield shows when the equipment is faulty. That's number one. Number two, in our industry, more than the equipment, it's the people. When I'm talking about equipment, let's say I get a carcass of lamb. I have to use every part of a carcass of lamb. The equipment will only cut it. How am I using it? And what am I doing with the offals and with the X, Y, Z things which are there in that one is to the intelligence of the person behind that machine. Most of the equipment comes with built-in protections these days, built-in alarms. You can even connect a lot of equipment to BMS. For example, all your cold rooms, all your heating elements and everything is connected to the building management system. So the alarms come automatically if the temperatures go here and there. The automation is immense. We don't have to worry about that. What we have to worry about is, am I capable enough or am I trained enough not to waste what is in front of me?
I think you asked the question, is it relevant? It's absolutely very relevant. It's money on the table for me. So I can't afford a faulty equipment. So I think all of us have got very strong, stringent measures to ensure there is no faulty equipment. Our preventive maintenance schedules, our PMSs, our regular checks and balances, productivity, that's all in place. Otherwise we'll be out of business, right?
So I think that's it. You can always ask them off the floor. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. And we would like to give you a small token of our appreciation. May I call upon Rajan Nair from my team. Come. Pratik Sahai from my team. Yeah. Mr. Ashley James, yeah. Thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure, absolute pleasure. Yeah. Okay. Ms. Ghosh. Yeah. Mr. Gupta. Yeah, Rajan. Mr. Jaidev Dutta. Mr. Girish Ganeshan. Dutta will, Rajan will. Mr. Ganesh. Thank you once again, panelists, for being here. We also have something special for you here. We have Mr. Ankit Chaudhary from the Champions Club. So he has something for y'all, and we hope that it will be a real experience. You would like to say something?
Guys, I'm Ankit from Champions Club. We are into providing luxury experiences. And when I say, when you talk about, sustainability in hospitality, there's a lot of sustainability required on yachts and air charters, which is yet to go into that segment. But I believe a lot of luxury segment has got a lot to learn from hospitality, hotel industry. So looking forward for yachts and air charters and airplanes to go towards more sustainability and learn from you guys. Thank you.
So you can just this. Thank you very much. Yeah, just wait 1 minute. Let me just have a group photograph. Others in there. Yeah, can we have your group photograph? Yeah, you can just come in the front here. Yeah. एक minute, the back is at the magazine which what is the name? We also have Mr. Shubham Singhal who wants to share something with y'all as well.
Hi, sir and ma'am. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. We are from Trident Group. We are the world's largest terry towel manufacturers and bed linen and bathrobes. So we are a vertically integrated company, and there is some sort of brochures that we have bought for you. And we would request if you get some time, we'll be more than happy to showcase you our products. Thank you very much.
So y'all have a bag to keep. Yeah. You can give us your plaques. We can put it into those boxes. You want? Yeah. These. Yeah. This you can catch there. Yeah. प्लास्टिक मत डालो खाली ऐसे